haven't really. So yeah, honestly, these have become more casual things these days because it's Neptunia. You can't really take the game seriously. So I also thought I'd talk about the video that Ollie recently uploaded. It was footage from a 2014 project of a friend of ours called Heroes Night.
Circulating online. Please take a look.
Now,
I've never seen anything like this before.
to explain, Heroes Night, or Seb,
Then it's probably
he has this habit of making shows or writing up plots for shows, and
Sure,
I'll be
no
honest,
problem.
Born to Be
We'll just
Mild
pop
was
on
one of
over
his
the
projects
scene
apart
and
from
get back
politics.
ASAP again.
Ollie, who was one of the... You see, the group originally was 4 people. Myself, Ollie,
Uni,
Seb,
listen
and our
closely.
friends.
Noir isn't trying to be
Pete.
cruel to you. In this world where we never know what will happen, you all are the only ones we can count on to look after and protect our home.
Now, Born to Be Mild seemed to be the one project that Seb was very, very passionate about.
Yeah.
Or when Ollie got into university,
Right.
he
So you
was...
take care of things too, Uni.
He was in the vicinity of a lot of very good
We'll be back in a flash.
equipment.
Understood. Everyone.
Now, I want to give Ollie
please be
a lot of
careful.
credit for a lot of this. Now, I was only a bit part, if that. I was a very small part of the thing. I played one character that was a multiverse character for Seb's Up the projects. Like, no matter what project he had, this one character was in every single one. He was like, kind of like...
No matter who their
you know,
opponent is, they won't
It's hard to
lose.
say, I don't want to say he's the Stan Lee of that world, like his cameos are just the thing, but he was just the thing that kept all of them connected effectively.
Why can't you be a bit more optimistic?
So,
You're right.
what
I'm
happened
just worrying
was,
too much.
one day I was called in to join the project to reprise the role of Jeffrey.
Nobody will find me here.
I should
and I'll
say,
just come home at a different
begin
time
my
than
role as
Neptune.
Jeffrey. Now, when I got there, there was a lot of... It was very difficult with the fact that we all had to make our way to one particular place.
Look at the stars and there's no way.
And everyone had so many different projects already going on in their real lives. It was a lot harder for us to come together to, you know, make the time for these things. So
I just have this awful feeling.
the scene I was in was a bar scene,
Then I'll go
or at least required the bar to play,
I don't trust letting
you know,
you
to do
go
that
alone.
scene. Now we only had it
So
for a
I'll come
limited
along
amount of
with
time. I think they gave
Thank you,
it
Uni.
to us for like an hour.
It's
So
not
we
even
had an
think
hour
me
to
over.
set things up, and the
It'd be
problem
a pain
was
if you messed up
we were
like
doing a
when we
lot of
got left
work
in the zero
beforehand.
dimension too.
Now, I'm not trying to justify why
Thanks,
my
Uni.
work wasn't the best I think it could have
But if we
been.
both go,
I'm just
well,
saying we
cause
had a
panic.
lot of limited
We're not
time, and by the
planning to be
time we
gone
got
long.
there
Worried.
for
Why don't you
the
step
show,
to bed with pillows
like
and leave
the
the note I'm
background
sleeping early
bits,
today on your door?
like going off and printing off posters and
that
stuff,
might work.
which we
Wait
had a
just
lot
second.
of,
I'll go get ready.
and some of them were for later tapings that we'd do. Oh, good lord, I'm just remembering we were sitting there around this one computer, like 5 people, 4 or 5 people sitting around a computer, printing things off, and eventually we had to go then get the equipment, get to the place, and I hadn't eaten, so we took a break to get dressed because we needed our outfits for the show, naturally. I had to use like my old college boiler suit, which has been lost to time, by the way. So the way it worked was the bar was like 2 rooms next to each other. There was a door by the entrance that went into another room, and the whole thing was I had to go into the other room and come out through the door at the end of the other side of the room to come out and do my bit. Now, I didn't mind any of that. I was actually pretty damn happy to, you know, do my thing.
Let's try going here. I choose you. Hey, I'm tired.
But the problem was I had very little time to practice, so I messed up the lines a few times, although I have to give credit. I have to say I was greatly amused by Michael grabbing my beard. That was always fun. You know, one day I just turn up and I'm told what my lines are. Get them all, you know, get a little bit of practice behind the door. I think I messed up the prices that I had to give to Mike. Now, as the show, as a whole, I have to honestly give credit to Michael and Ollie over Seb in some regards. I mean, this was technically Seb's brainchild, but Ollie was doing a lot of work on the scripts. And he did do a lot of maintenance on that, as well as his own work. So, credit where credit is due. Now, as for Seb and Pete's bits, I didn't get to see a lot of the earlier stuff. I mean, a lot of the footage I saw yesterday in the video was stuff I've literally only seen for the first time. So, you know, it's all Greek to me. So one day I get to help out Mike a bit, and I get to talk with Ollie about, you know, see a few scripts about what was going to be happening overall, because there were plans for my character to appear. The joke with Jeffrey was that his character he hadn't had any sleep in a long time, and to fill up that void, he would wake up, you know, whenever, and he'd have multiple jobs. So, you know, when I first appeared, I was doing the role of like the animal exterminator, or, you know, catching panthers, as it seems. But he also worked in the French opera industry. He also was a policeman. He also, you know, he was also a health inspector. That was also going to be another joke in a later episode that involved the Frenchman. A lot of characters didn't get to be filmed, unfortunately. But the way, if I had to criticise a lot of the development, it was very disorganised. And again, a lot of the blame can be put on, there was just so much work to do. And yeah, because we had to like download the footage afterwards, then put the footage up on you know, we had to download the footage, put it on computers, which then Ollie had to like salvage. I mean, he salvaged a lot of stuff. I have to give him tons of credit for actually being able to, you know, work with all that, work with the limited amount of time and stuff he had, along with his other projects. You know, his actual work. But the projects unfortunately never got finished for many there are many reasons it was never properly finished, unfortunately. Scheduling projects, but other things where there were personal issues, and just the amount of time we were expected to put into these things. I was moving countries effectively. Ollie had university, and then others had actual jobs they had to go to, so it wasn't exactly an ideal situation for any of us. Now, in regards to what I thought of the show overall, Seb's made a few good shows. He's got, you know, he's made some good ideas. He's got some good ideas. I can't take that away from him. You know, when he creates something good, it's good. When he creates something bad, it's bad. And sometimes the best you can hope for is that it's laughably bad. That's not to insult him or anything. I think Seb has created some really good stuff. I love politics. I love the character of Jeffrey. I loved you know, my favourite character was always Big Mickey. Which probably explains some of the characters as well. I mean, the whole plot of the show was that it was in a bar, Big Mickey's. Now, Big Mickey was played by our friend Michael, who, despite his character, is one of the most gentle people you will ever meet. You know, he's just lovely.
Thanks everyone for all your help.
Me and my wife absolutely adored him. Now, in regards to what he did as a character, he was some egotistical psychopath. I guess sociopath, depending on how you want to classify him. He was just completely insane with how he behaved and reacted to situations. Like, you know, he wouldn't react well to being told that his pronunciation of a certain, you know, certain thing was correct. You know, he wouldn't take well to being told that's not how you pronounce cabaret, because he pronounced it cabaret. Or he, you know, he wouldn't like his opponent, his opposing bar, so he'd spread lies. And it's implied that he put Ollie's character in the wheelchair. That's the implication at the very least.
Annoying.
But then, of course,
Are you ready?
Ollie played Jerry, who was just the guy who he would do the heavy lifting and the actual work that went into running a bar, and then there were 7 people who were the main characters, which, honestly, going through the scripts, and I know Seb would disagree with me completely.
Now, who should I fight?
And I'm sure Pete would, I'm sure, this is just my opinion. I don't think the show should have been called to be mild, and I don't think they should have been the focus, because they were not even the fun parts of the show. The fun stuff was always Big Mickey and Jerry. They were the best parts of the show, hands down.
Are you ready? I will.
It's just the antics that they would get into. It just, when I watched it, I was like, yeah, that is so totally, you know, that is so totally Big Mickey. Like, they argued over the cabaret suite, and his response to it was just to hang Ollie out of a window. You know, the character would be held out of a window while he screamed at him, you know, it's cabaret, not cabaret. And you know, that was all fun. But then I just didn't really enjoy 7 Pete stuff as much as, say, I enjoyed
Here. Who should I choose?
as much as I enjoyed Big Mickey. And Jeffrey's stuff, again, he was literally in it for one scene per episode, if he even made it into one episode. You know, he wouldn't overstay his welcome, and I loved that about the character. That, you know, he didn't try and overstay, he wasn't overexposed, but I think the show should have been called Big Mickey's featuring, and in little brackets, featuring Born to Be Mild, because the joke was that they were struggling they weren't exactly struggling musicians, I guess that's maybe being a bit mean. They weren't struggling, they were just,
Let's end this quick. I will attack.
well,
Are you ready?
they were struggling. They were just a tribute band that would perform at Big Mickey's club. But they were not the, you know, they were just the comic relief, just like Jeffrey was. And honestly, I don't know, maybe if we had a bit more, we could manage to get a bit more footage, I might have felt a bit different, but I just felt the show should have focused more on Jerry and Big Mickey than it ever should have focused on those on Pete, 7 Pete. And now, I like 7 Pete, and I think they're great, you know, they can be funny when they're on screen, but again, Big Mickey and Jerry were the best parts. I always found their bits to be the most fun, you know, to read and just have Michael act them out. Do I think we could ever get the show back on, or, you know, reignite the project? I think with all the responsibilities now, especially with me living in a foreign country effectively, and everyone being at work or, you know, everything else, there's just no way we could ever, there's no way the original group could get back together to do Born to Be Mild again, unless it was under very specific circumstances.
Prepare yourself.
Now, there are other reasons I'm not going to get into because I don't believe in, when it comes to this project, it's not as if there was a scandal, it's not as if there was anything big, it's just I think a lot of personal issues with certain other people may have stopped this project from ever getting bigger than it is, from ever reigniting the way it was meant to.
More than enough.
And there was a payoff. There was going to be a big story, a big story everything was building up to, which was going to be, I was looking forward to, but I just don't think it could have ever, I just don't think it can work, because again, we didn't go into this thinking we'd even get this far. We did not think we would get to even film this, and Ollie was lucky to salvage what he did. Mad props to the guy again for doing the work that he did. But I just don't think we could ever, I don't think there's ever a chance we'll ever get back together and even have enough time to meet up again, let alone do an entire project.
I'll be the one to end this.
Would I like to? I think when it comes down to a lot of the problems when it came, on sets, the big work, I think Ollie did more than his fair share of the work. I mean, he was writing, he was having to get the equipment. I mean, it was Seb's project and Ollie was writing most of it, most of the stuff, or giving pointers to fix certain things. So, I think under certain circumstances, I think all of us contributing, if it was a full-on project where all of us had a degree of control and a say in what was written, maybe. But also there's the fact that a lot of the cast that was going to be in it had, were outsiders that were brought in afterwards anyway. Not to say that's a bad thing, but they were people who I can honestly imagine looked at the script, and if you don't understand Seb himself, it's more, what the hell even is this? You have to really understand Seb to understand what his humour really is. And why this is funny to him and why you should find it funny. There was always that problem. If you want to call it that. Personally, I would do the project again. I'd love to do more, but I think that if I did it again, rewriting the scripts completely, so everyone had a say, having it in a position, being in a position where we can all get together and actually film the damn thing, because that was part of the problem. We just didn't have the time, and for a lot of us we were having to, make the time ourselves just to even get there. And it was on a university ground, which made it more, we got lucky to get what we did. I think that can't be overstated, is how hard we had to work just to get, what we got, and how lucky we got. And also, I just don't think, especially with how hard, where he'd even want to do that again. I mean, writing's a difficult thing, especially when you're writing someone else's project, I suppose. I think Seb has some great ideas. I'm sure now more than ever he'd have some great ones to add and contribute to, improve the show.
Who should I choose?
I think Seb and Pete as characters required a lot more to them than what was put in. That's not to say they were bad characters, but there really wasn't anything else to them other than a few punchlines, I guess. But ultimately, that was really all there was to Seb and Pete's characters. They were a little bit of a joke. There were a little bit of a joke here and there. They were good characters, but ultimately there was other characters were much more developed and interesting to watch. I mean, again, Big Mickey and Jerry were the actual more interesting ones. I was more interested in their dynamic because the entire thing for me was, when is Jerry gonna break and just try and get the hell away? Because there's no way anyone would, you know, want to stay. You know, especially in a place like that where the guy is clearly mentally unstable. That's really all I had to say on the matter, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, again, I loved the project to a degree. I did have a few major problems when it came to some of the production, the time and everything else. But it was a project that I think Seb really put a lot of thought into. He was really passionate enough about it. I think he really could have done a bit more. I think Ollie should have done a little less. And that's really all I can say on the project, but I like, you know, that's Born to be Mild. The footage is embarrassing to me now in some ways, but not in a whole, oh god, this is just horrible. It's in a more, oh god, I can't believe this is how I used to look and how the project used to be. And it was great to see Michael and others, you know, I loved the big Mickey suit. I loved that he had an extraordinarily ridiculous pinstripe suit. I guess that's really all there is to say on Born to be Mild, to be honest. It was a good show, good idea, but I honestly think there were a lot of external factors and internal factors that made it so it didn't take off in any way, in any serious way. And that's a shame. Well, that's me signing off. Sorry about the rambling and everything, but would I, within the grey walls, would I do it all again? I have to honestly admit that I was not in it as much as, say, Ollie was. That's why I feel bad for Ollie more than anything else, because he was in every last little bit of the production. I was in it for one day. I got like one day because that's all they needed me for that one episode, because it was just filming one episode, which is the Phantom episode. And honestly, if I had a bit more say in it and there was a bit more, I don't want to use the word professionalism, but if there was a bit more organisation, a bit more of an equal effort to make it work, because, you know, it was definitely an unbalanced. Yeah, it was unbalanced completely. I mean, Ollie was doing a lot of his university work as well as getting the equipment. Seb was doing some of the writing. People like me and Pete, all we had to do was come in, learn our lines, and have a costume for the situation. I mean, at one point we actually were talking about a budget to get clothing to, you know, for the outfits that Jeffrey would wear. But I'd probably do it again if there was a bit more organisation and a little less stress, because I felt guilty a lot of the time that I was contributing essentially to helping Ollie with this, and knowing that he was putting so much work into more work into this than he had any right to. Anyway, since you're here, Ian, would you like to be invited? Can't right now. Okay then, dude, that's fine. Different circumstances. I honestly would not. I would not do it again. Yeah, under the same circumstances, just because under all that, it was stressful as all hell, and again, I feel guilty just for, you know, the struggle Ollie had to do just to make it work.
Fighting is such a waste of time. I will attack. Are you ready?
It's hard to really think what I do differently. I mean, I can't really say if I was running this, I'd do it this way. because I honestly can't say I could run it better, because again, Ollie was doing this on his own for so long, and sometimes he'd be stressed. You could tell how stressed he was. I honestly feel bad about my stuff purely because I look at it and I know I fucked up some lines. I mean, you can see me just clicking when you know, I'm trying to remember one particular line. It's all I had to remember. And I really didn't have any rehearsal time. I think that's another thing. I got no real practice. We were literally filming constantly, and it was like we were trying to get it all in one take.
Now, who to choose?
Which is a shame, really. It is a shame. I really think if we had a bit more practice, the project would have been a lot more tolerable for all parties, to be honest. I can't say, I don't think Ollie would ever do it again. I think he'd be like, fuck no, I'm not doing this again. And it's a shame, really, because I loved Ollie's character. You know, I loved what they were making, you know, what he was able, what they were having him do. I loved I just loved him and Big Mickey's reaction, you know. Big Mickey's stuff with each other was just gold. I think this is how psychopathic the character actually was. And how Michael, who is one of the, and I can say this from experience, Michael is one of the sweetest people you will ever meet. You know, he's always kind, he's always thoughtful. And quite frankly, him playing a character like Big Mickey, I honestly did not think he'd be able to manage something like that. I think this would be like, this would be something he'd not be able to do because he's just too damn nice of a guy. And yet he plays this relentless sociopath who only thinks of himself and just does it so well.
Now it's my turn to go on the offensive. Get over here.
You know, I had to help him with his suit on a few occasions. Apparently he was having problems with when he bought it because we had to provide our own stuff as well. You know, Seb was very cost cutting. You know, if you could cut corners, we would. So you know, I don't think he would have minded if we all wore, you know, if we were all in pound outfits we got from the dollar store, the pound shop, or you know, the dollar store for any Americans watching. He would have been satisfied. I don't think there's any debate about that.
My turn.
You know, happy to answer any other questions. I mean, I know there's not really much I can answer, but if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
We no longer need words. I'll chop you down. Neptune, I'll leave the rest to you. This is the power of Hyperdimension's next-gen CPU. Weak. An obvious victory.
Can you really stand up to
It is
me?
my turn.
My turn! I'll finish it this turn. Mura? Now, who should I fight? I will attack. Are you ready? I'm more than enough.
It was like a cross between Phoenix Knights and the Mighty Boosh. Yeah. Honestly, I think you've probably already guessed by now, but Seb was a big fan of Phoenix Knights. And the bar thing was always going to be a major factor into what he designed, what he turned the show into, I suppose. Because you see, he had another show called Politics, which was MPs, which is about obviously about two MPs, but it seems a bit. I think the ultimate aim for the end of season 1, because we even planned a season 2 eventually, the plan was that eventually Jeffrey was eventually going to be, a big event was going to happen with Large Ricky, who was going to be played by someone they knew from school, who apparently looks like Michael, but I just can't see the resemblance. They look nothing alike. They're going to have this ridiculously over-the-top fight that one thing would literally end with Jerry. My idea was that Jeffrey, the character I played, would be shot in the arse with a tranquilizer dart and fall asleep into a cake or something. And then when he woke up after actually having some sleep, it was going to be a completely different person as Jerry. Jeffrey. Or at least that was the aim.
Who should I fight?
And I think Jerry, Ollie's character was actually going to just bugger off. Like, he'd had enough of Big Mickey and then just quit. I mean, I have my own opinions. I don't want to air them, air them like dirty laundry online, because that's unprofessional for me and everyone else involved. But I have my own opinions on what I thought of where the show should go.
Now, who to choose?
Because I still maintain that the focus was on the wrong people.
Here and I have something real special for ya. I can reach from here. I'll cut my way to the future. Sorry, slash and dash. Now, who should I fight? Let's go. Come on, take my power. Leave it to me. I'm betting everything on this one strike. I'll finish it this turn. Ha!
Oh god, Pervert Joe. Okay, so I was kind of curious. I kind of am surprised no one mentioned. I'm surprised Ollie didn't do an FAQ really to try and explain the characters. But okay.
It is my turn.
Pervert Joe's entire character was he was basically a guy who would do limericks. Yeah, that's it. But and we just accepted it, and the reason he was accepted, was just solely because he had a fan base. So he'd make, he'd make limericks about him coming and stuff.
Are you ready?
It was all super fucking weird, which I'm sure you've already grasped. But yeah, that was the extent of all he was. He was just a guy who made a lot of inappropriate songs, or limericks, or he'd interrupt whenever anything came on that could be taken as an innuendo. He would come on and make even more inappropriate comments. Like, I think the only one I remember is him talking about him crying out of one eye.
It is my turn.
God, I'm just remembering all this stuff, and it's just so goddamn bad. It's just ridiculous.
Let's end this.
Oh.
Got you. Now it's my turn to go on the offensive.
But yeah, Other such characters were, there was Pervert Joe, Matalan Boy, Slipper Girl, the Magician.
I choose you.
Yeah, the Magician isn't really anything special, before you ask. He's literally just a guy who does stupid things like turns Coca-Cola or Pepsi into own brand.
Who's my opponent?
Or he does a thing where, with Slipper Girl, where she's stuck with certain clothes on through his magic trick and he doesn't know how to turn it off.
Go on the offensive.
Who wants to get defeated?
But yeah, there's also Matalan Boy, whose entire thing was he was the bouncer for the bar, but he constantly only ever used Matalan bags as weapons. Like he'd get a Matalan bag and he'd fill it with stuff. And he'd like use it as a weapon while talking. And
My turn.
Seb's joke, the entire joke of him was that he was obsessed with using. Look, he was obsessed with just using only Matalan bags and doing an impression of Joe Pesci.
I'll chop you down.
Yeah, that was literally the extent of all he was just doing impressions of Joe Pesci.
Power of Hyperdimension's next-gen CPU.
Who should I choose? I can go.
So yeah, there's not really anything else really to Pervert Joe. He's just a perverse guy.
Let's go gracefully. Let's end this.
Yeah, and that's really all there really is to him. He's just a perverse guy that makes really inappropriate jokes. Or, you know, limericks.
I'll be the one to end this. I choose you.
I honestly forgot about Pervert Joe until Ollie mentioned him. And then I remembered, oh god, yeah, I remember him now.
It is my turn.
Now, who's my opponent?
Who should I choose?
I think there's a Roy Chubby Brat. Oh no. I don't really think I don't think, to Seb's credit, I don't think he really put much thought into, you know, I don't think he put much thought into that kind of stuff.
Let's end this.
Actually, that would have actually been a good idea. Now I think about it, that actually would have been a good idea to make him like a Roy Chubby Brown character, but no, he was just a guy who made a lot of really, really, really bad sex jokes. Like chubby arse. Oh god, I remember that now.
Who's my opponent?
I actually remember that.
I can go anytime.
Chubby arse. Oh god, the Viz.
No matter who my opponent is, I'll jump.
Leave this to me. Now, is this range? should I choose?
We want Chubia. Oh,
It is my turn.
honestly, I don't think Seb hasn't really seen any of Viz, to be perfectly honest with you.
No matter who my opponent is, I'll mow them down. You're in the way.
I'll be the one to end this.
Yeah, he's only really he's seen
my
what
opponent?
little I had of, you know, what little bits of Viz that I had on my, you know, in the comics and stuff. I don't think he's actually seen that Fat Slags thing.
Now, what shall I do?
Now it's my turn to go on the offensive. Don't.
I can go anytime.
Leave this to me. No matter who my opponent is,
And unfortunately,
I'll
as you
mow
can
them down.
imagine, things didn't exactly go very well. I mean, a lot of characters. There were plans to actually have all these characters. It's just, again, there really wasn't enough time to film.
This is. I choose you. Here. Who should I choose? Don't.
I'll be the one to end this.
It is my turn.
And to me, it was a real bloody shame.
Here's
My turn. Easy peasy.
See, again, Seb has hit and miss ideas, but you know, when he gets a good idea, when an idea he has is great, it's great. When it's bad, it's pretty. It can be salvaged, I guess, but it requires a lot of work.
Easy. Now, who
Well,
to
I'm going to
choose?
call the stream here, but thanks for joining me, and thanks for listening to me ramble about a show I was on once. Bye.